This is a good one, Coach William, for you to talk about. When you have an office in which you're a partner vendor, I will. What do you do? I will tell you that tons of things are on the website about it. Activities you want to be engaged in, but just let's talk with Jane for a minute about the things that you guys do specifically.
Yeah, I mean, it's not anything special here at Rocket Science. The big thing is, if you're going to be a vendor partner in these offices, is don't just pay to get on the list and walk away. That's what everybody seems to do. It amazes me that some of these offices, I assume we're talking about pay to play, and so some of these offices that we do that in, it's just amazing that these other guys they pay the big bucks, but then they're nowhere to be found. Even when they're having events, these guys aren't there. So. As far as to wow them, I think number one thing is don't just pay and disappear. Pay and then play. Get in there and take advantage of whatever it is that they offer. To be a part of that, referral group. We've got a KW office over in Kentucky that's just opened up arms to us, and we did pay to play over there, and that's basically what we've been doing. Not only are we taking advantage of what they're offering, we've even made tons of suggestions. We go in there once a month for lunch and learn. That's just they just give us the room and the facilities. We do all the advertising. Sometimes we do well. Sometimes the room is packed. Other times we have a handful of people. So you never know how that's going to play out. But that broker and the agents that run that office, they love that kind of stuff. One of the biggest things we did was put on a karaoke party for them. We've done that twice now. It was so successful the first year, they asked us to come back and do it the second year. Now, we're not putting that all out of our pocket. We're bringing our vendors in there. They're paying for the food, the DJ. We have very little expense to get all this exposure. So, again, it goes back to what I said, about if you go to any kind of office event, don't just show up there and be a picture on the wall. You've got to get involved and become a part of them and help that brokerage, if you will, put these events on and become more successful. What's in it for them? What can you do for them? Besides, the worst thing you'd want to do is get up there and start talking about me, myself, and I, and trying to sell yourself. It's not about that. It's about building those relationships. So that is, in a nutshell, that's where we're at. Kayla does a great job with this, always looking for new ways to get involved. Watching their social media, and they start talking about a little something, jump in there and get yourself invited if you're not. If you're in a pay-to-play situation, I'm sure Ken will back me up on this. It's amazing the people that think that they can go in there and lay down the $1,500 or whatever it is, sometimes it's more or less, to be a part of that, and then disappear, and they expect the phone to ring just because they paid. And it just doesn't work that way.
How about the photo booth? That's been a big one.
Photo booth, we've done that a couple of times. Basically, you can rent those photo booths, where they go in and take silly pictures. What's really cool with this particular guy, they print them out right there on site so they can take it with them. And that creates buzz afterwards. You get all those photos. We talk about having some fun, doing Animoto or social posts. You can keep that event going for a while afterwards just by keeping those funny shots and tagging those different agents and offices in the photos.
And we'll need to find out, Coach William, from David Strand, because he's got some kind of photo booth gig going where they have a Polaroid printer, and he doesn't bring somebody out for $500 or $600. His team does it themselves.
Nice.
And they're getting asked to come to all of these holiday parties because they have the photo booth, and all the brokers want them. It was such fun, and so they're getting invitations to parties that they may not have been asked to in the past, and building relationships. And his marketing person, Jamie, is a lot like some of the other Dynamite Savvy members' marketing reps. Just so it's turned out really good for them. So I think showing
right, you touched on something I think is important there, that he's getting asked, and that's kind of what's happening to us. So again, once you get out there and you get involved in this, and these agencies see the value in you being there, what value can you bring to the table? You will get asked, and we get asked all the time for these kind of things, to the point where we have to pick and choose, what we want to do, and that's another game changer for you, because you have an office that really doesn't do as well as you think it should be, and they ask you to support this or do whatever, and you can say, hey, look, I would love to do more, but the fact is there's just not that much happening in your office, and you can make things change that way. I've seen it myself. So yeah, to be involved and get the word out there. Another example, we do, around Easter, we've got the rabbit outfit, and at Christmas, we got the Santa Claus outfit. So every year now, we get inundated with, please come and let Santa do the photo op with Santa at our office. So, and same way with the Easter gig. So I think anything like you can do like that to create fun and a good atmosphere, and there's something in it for that office or those agents for you to be a part of it, beyond the fact that you just laid down some money to be on a list.
And Jane, I'm going to tell you, Coach Williams gave a very big tip. He said they're fun. You got to be fun. Our clients that have the most successful marketing departments, they're doing stuff that's fun. When Coach Williams goes out there and his staff, Kayla, Matt, the whole team, they have a big time with the agents. They play the operation game. They have the ship. You have to shoot the cotton balls through the sail and give away tequila shooters. They get out there and have a big time. So that's what you have to keep in mind. How can I have fun with these people? Because it's about relationship building. I always say our job as a marketer is to turn acquaintances into friends. So people who are fun and enjoy other people, have that kind of personality to get out there, they love it. Because here's what happens is, and you'll all know this, a lot of home inspectors aren't very fun. They're kind of stick in the muds. Okay, so what happens is, if you're that way, you're not that fun to be around. So you're never going to be successful in relationship marketing. You better stick to send out cards. Okay, but people that are fun and enjoy other people and get out here and do these kinds of things are the ones that get asked back over and over and build relationships and develop huge followings.
Yeah, we do those, and at your big association events is when you really get to shine, if they allow that kind of thing. And so, you've heard me say it in the past. We've got people lined up waiting to get to our booth to play the game or do whatever. And you look around the room, and your competitors are all over there, almost suit and tie looking, looking down their nose at what's going on, and they've got their cards and their brochures, and they're me, myself, and I all spread out on the table. And agents walk by there and maybe pick up a brochure or something and move on. But when they land at our booth, our show, if you will, they're involved and they're having a great time cutting up. And are we marketing? Of course we are, but we're not just standing there, here, take my business card, or this is why we're so much better than everybody else. It's not about that. It's about getting them involved. Again, you're building those relationships. They'll remember laughing and cutting up with you long after that event's over. And they'll forget about the guy they walked by and, all he had out there was his business cards.
You're right. Now, Jane says in the chat here, do you think offering a meeting with agents to brainstorm marketing, business building ideas is presumptuous? Okay, it depends on who you are and what your background is. I would teach CE classes. We had a school in Georgia. You couldn't teach under somebody else's license. You had to get licensed to teach CE here. And so what would happen is I would start off the class and say, is anybody here from the state of Georgia, the board that handles real estate agents? And I'd look around the room, they said no, and I said, well, how'd you like to spend the first 15 minutes on a cool marketing tip that you can use tomorrow? And they loved it, and they knew me as a great marketer. And so that it wasn't presumptuous of me to go out there and give them fundamental marketing tips that they could use, and we still do it. And I'll tell you, Bonnie Lilac, a good friend and a client, her husband David, they live down the way in Canton, the next city from us. When smartphones came out, what they would do, she would go in the office and teach a class on smartphones and how to do the applications, how to get the smartphone put together, how to use this app for this, how to use this app for that, and that was hugely well received. I think a lot of, when social media first came out, a lot of our clients went out there and shared Facebook tips and tricks, Pinterest, all those kinds of things. So I think you have a lot of things that you could share with them. I'll assure you, Jane, one of the things that you could do was go out there and teach them about mind mapping. You could introduce Trello, other efficiency apps or programs, Sweet Process for the procedures for their staff. There's lots of things business-wise you can get out there and talk to real estate agents about that'll apply to them, make their life easier and better. So I guess it depends on your audience. When we started doing the realtor marketing tips, we had a little feedback from some, ignorant agents that said, "Why are you sending me something? What is about marketing? What does the home inspector know about real estate agent marketing?" So, so I guess it depends on the agent, but I've always seized on opportunities to help people that want that want the information. You're always going to have a naysayer. So I would, Dan Kennedy told me early on, if you're not pissing somebody off with your marketing, you're not marketing hard enough. So I think that's the big thing. You should just get out there, know your audience, and get on out there. So so I don't think it's pretentious in most situations. Coach Williams, you guys teach business, marketing, other things in your meetings with agents?
Yeah, I mean, we're always one of our goals for this year, challenges, is to come up with even more presentations to do, because we've got a ton of them. We've just done them all. So looking for new avenues. But yeah, one thing you didn't mention was slide out. We've been talking about that. That goes over awesome. That's a great little presentation. And these things don't have to be. A lot of them that we do are for a lunch period, so they're 45 minutes to an hour. But it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, you're there to get that presence and get interaction. So even if it's a 10-minute little presentation that you got, if it's something that's really powerful and a wow for them, something they can implement and use, it'll speak volumes for you. So slide out is a great one for that. Let's see. The last one we did, another big one that we did that went over really well was digital stationery.
Right.
You'd be surprised how many agents are clueless on that kind of thing. So, direct response marketing, which is kind of tied into the digital stationery. So I think anything like that can get you in there. The Trello, the mind maps you spoke of, excellent stuff. Because you'd be surprised how many agents are just into the dark about these kind of things.